Yep, Kuro cooked. Anybody who's been watching my content knows that I've been pretty vocal about my critiques with the endgame content and event content in Wuthering Waves. It just hasn't been hitting for a while now. And with this new Crisis Trials mode, this is the most fun I've had in Wuthering Waves in quite some time now. Anybody who watches my content as well knows I'm not a big fan of the Tower of Adversity or timer content in general. I understand there's a place for it in the game and I don't mind it dotted here and there in whatever game you're playing, but I'm just not a big fan of it. And the Whimpering Waste mode was a bit of a flop for me, a frustrating mode. This is the total opposite, in my opinion. A mode that actually has some mechanics that you have to deal with, you have to work out how to fight against, which is nice. Aggressive enemies. I love the stress modules that you can add in the game. I know a lot of people saying this is basically just PGR's Tower of Babel. I didn't get to that point in PGR, and I don't think a lot of people who are playing Wuthering Waves would have probably played Tower of Babel in PGR anyway. So this is going to be new for a lot of people. So I'm totally down with this. I want to see this sort of content now be a bit of a focus for Kuro. Let's not make everything about timer-based content. Let's not make it like Whimpering Waste where the enemy is the timer and you've got frustrating mobs that are just scattering to the wind. That's not fun, in my opinion. This is actually fun and actually brings a little bit of a difficulty to it. I did struggle with the Averado Vault stage. It took me probably 7 or 8 tries to complete that, dealing with the Glacial Chafe and those crystalline little entity towers that were dropped around that just keep hitting with the glacial chase and getting frozen. It took a couple of tries to get beyond that, but I like that. I like those mechanics that there's something there beyond the boss. This is what I wanted from Wuthering Waves in regards to, I guess, kind of like your MMO kind of boss fight mechanics where there's something in the stage other than the boss. You've got an aggressive boss and also things to deal with and try and overcome. And this hit pretty much every note for me. Now, I would like to see potentially, I don't know actually what I would like to see from this mode. This is actually really enjoyable. I suppose what I'd like to see from this mode is maybe just it built upon. I know it's an event at the moment, right? I'd like to see this go permanent and hopefully Kuro are looking at the feedback from this event and hopefully everybody's kind of positive about this because I really like this and I'd like to see it be something that's either permanent or has reoccurring it's a reoccurring event, basically, but I'd like it to go permanent and have resets and different stress modules and different fights and different mobs and different mechanics because I really think this is where it's at for me, personally. Again, as I said, somebody who's not a fan of the Tower or of Whimpering Waste or just timer-based content in general because typically what it becomes, it's a stat check around your levels, and I know that's pretty much how a lot of endgame in these games works, but it's just not fun because at the end of the day, the enemies themselves are not really hard to deal with. The final boss is the timer. I don't like that. I understand there's a place for it in the game, and I don't mind it being here and there throughout a game like Wuthering Waves or any gacha game really, but I want to see this sort of content pushed to the forefront. This was something that when they showed this off in the live stream, I was like, okay, this actually looks kind of interesting. And yeah, I think they're cooked with this, guys. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section as well. What do you think about this mode? I like the fact that, like I say, there's a little bit of difficulty there. As I said, the Averado Vaults had me a couple of times. The amount of times I was just getting swarmed, like sometimes as soon as I got in, getting Glacial Chafe, then frozen, and then just getting lamped by the chests, and probably had 3 or 4 failures actually on the Sentry Uni, but it was just an enjoyable fight. It was one of those where even on the deaths, it didn't feel frustrating. It was like, right, okay, that was on me. I need to work around that. Let's work on the mechanics. Let's try it slightly different this time. And the fact that you don't have a timer there allows you sometimes to, if you need to, play a little bit more defensively. I like that because that gives you a little bit more freedom in how you play the game. Now, I'm not against timers altogether. As I said, I understand that modes like the Tower of Adversity need to be in these sort of games. We need stat checks. You know, it's a gacha game at the end of the day. There needs to be something there that encourages you to build out your account, to build out multiple characters, vertical investment, horizontal investment, all this sort of stuff. But for me, this is a mode that encourages you to want to get better at the game. And that's all I've been asking for a long time in Wuthering Waves, personally, because as somebody who I don't really get much enjoyment out of continually building up characters and always chasing the stats to clear certain content, I like this sort of content where you can maybe use a fewer, less characters basically, because I did clear most of it with my Jinsei, Jeji, and Shorekeeper team. I did use a little bit of Camellia as well here and there with Sanhua and Shorekeeper. But I like that. I like the fact that it allows me to kind of tackle it how I want. Now, I'm expecting as there's more resets and different content that I'm going to have to spread my teams out and use different characters, which I'm totally fine with, because something like this, I don't mind hitting a brick wall and being like, right, okay, got to switch the team up, because it's actually enjoyable. It's intuitive. And as I said, it makes you want to play better. When I fail timer modes, I don't think, oh, well, let's just practice more. I really don't, because it's just, you know, I don't feel like there's much difficulty. I'm just chasing down mobs, especially in Whimpering Wastes. And as I've said before, Terror Versus is not for me. But this is it. I want to see more of this from Kuro. Modes where it's about difficulty, because at the end of the day, the core component of Wuthering Waves, which makes it stand out from the rest of the games, in my opinion, is its fluid, tight, really well-designed combat. And I think this mode really exemplifies how well-designed the combat is in the game. And for me, things like Whimpering Wastes, Terror of Adversity, don't really do that so much. So I definitely would like to, I've said this before, these sort of stress modules, I'd like to see something brought into the holograms. You know, we've got the new hologram system now where we've got them going to the place in Renacita. I'd like to see resets happen there where potentially there's stress modules and buffs that we can add. And it kind of like, you know, it just switches the hologram up basically. So there's a next level of difficulty for holograms. And people can just tackle it the way they want to tackle it, basically. You have your standard clear, and then there's like, it opens up all these different modules and buffs and such then, and you can just kind of tackle it how you want to tackle it. I think that would be really interesting, and it would add mechanics to holograms then as well. Make them extremely hard, and there'd only be a small percentage of the community who probably would clear that content. But I think it should be there personally, because for me, this is what Wuthering Waves is all about. Content that feels kind of difficult, but not difficult because you're chasing down a timer. Actually, you've got aggressive enemies to deal with, and I really, really like that. So kudos for Kuro for this, because I think they absolutely killed it, and hopefully we get more of this kind of content. I think it's really enjoyable, actually. I've cleared it all now. I couldn't help myself. I started playing it today, and I was like, you know what? I'm going through all of this now. It actually made me want to keep going to clear the content, and I'm really glad that I did. So yeah, Kuro, more of this, make it permanent, come up with some really cool ideas for stress modules and all that sort of stuff, and mechanics and different fights and different mixtures of mobs and stuff like this. And I will grind this. This is the content I like to see. Build upon this, make it bigger, make it better, and yeah, start to focus on this. Focus on things like the Elusive Realm, and you will have more praise in regards to content, endgame content, and events, because this for me is the best event I think we've had, personally. I'm trying to think now. I did really like the Infinite Battle Simulation when that first came out. This is way better content. This is way better content. I really like this. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you like this mode? Is this what you'd like to see them focus on? Or do you think it's trash? I'd love to know. And yeah, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, and I will see you all in the next one. Ta-ra.